Hello and welcome to another exciting KXCR Conversations. We are lucky to have a call in today of a gentleman who has written a book on traveling by yourself, which is a pretty interesting way of managing things. His name is Randell Carlton Green, and he is a traveler. How are you doing, Randell?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Well, my associates here had contacted me and let me know that you had written a book in regards to traveling by yourself, which I think is pretty interesting. It's one thing to get together with a few people or one person and make some plans to go someplace, but to actually do it all yourself and have everything relying on what you decide is pretty much a different way of managing it. So thank you for being on the air with us today and talking a little bit about your story.
Thank you for having me. Yes, the book is called Smart and Solo. It's the blueprint for efficient and enjoyable solo travel, and it commenced because I wanted to travel, like you mentioned, as far as planning things with other people. And through my initial planning, one of the things I wanted to do when I first started traveling was to see all 30 of the Major League Baseball ballparks because they differ in size, shape, and just aspects about them. Yeah. So when I first started traveling, my desire was to do that. And I'm a Detroit Tiger fan, and I was working multiple jobs and kind of had a unique schedule. So what would happen was when I would invite people, hey, I'm going to Detroit on Tuesday. Anybody want to go? And Detroit's a wonderful place. I had a great time there. But finding people to go with you to Detroit on a Tuesday, you don't get a lot of takers. So then after that, but then as much as I love baseball and everything, a lot of baseball cities are older cities. So if it's not Detroit, it was, hey, okay, if you don't want to go to Detroit, how about going with me to Baltimore? Okay, not Baltimore, what about Pittsburgh? And as you can see, that trend was hard to get people to go with me. So I started going domestically on these trips by myself, these baseball trips, and then it progressed into, over the last 4 years, I've done over 25 countries solo.
Wow, that's amazing. It's one thing to even go to a ball game by yourself. I totally understand what you mean there. If you have to take off in the middle of the week, there's going to be a little bit difficult to get somebody to ride along with you or whatnot. And, maybe the most not desirable place to go or something that could also affect it too and all. But to head out and do this on your own, that's what got you started on this all thing, huh?
Yes, it was. And it was, when I first started traveling, I was extremely self-conscious, more self-conscious than nervous. It was because we kind of grew up in a society where you do things on your own, it's kind of looked down upon it. There's a phenomenon called a spotlight effect. And anytime you do anything by yourself, you feel as if everybody's watching. You go to the restaurant by yourself, you feel everybody knows that you're by yourself, and it's probably because you got stood up on a date, or your friends don't like you, or if you're traveling by yourself, you have no friends, or if you're at the movie by yourself, it's because, again, you have just no friends, and everybody canceled on you, and your blind date broke up.
Yeah.
There's so many
what's wrong with you?
Exactly, what's wrong with you? So when I first started doing these trips, I was extremely shy. I was self-conscious about it all. And I would make up little stories if anyone said, oh, who are you here with? I'm like, oh, my buddy's on his way, or my friend, she's on another flight, or whatever it may be. That's how it kind of started. I was very raw, and I didn't appreciate it. I was nervous, and I didn't see the value in traveling solo. And it wasn't over until after I did a couple international trips that I realized that just the personal value, the professional value, the growth I had intelligently, emotionally, spiritually, all the above, there was a lot of value in doing it. One, I enjoyed it, but also, two, I found myself just growing as a person, learning so many things, and then taking with all that, realizing that since very few people do that and have a desire to travel by solo, I took it as a badge of honor and proud, and now I fly that flag high of, I travel solo. So.
Wow. Now, you said that you decided after doing these baseball runs on your own that you would take this even one step further, I guess, and start to head out of the country and all. What proposed that feeling?
Well, we all have times in life, I think, where we're looking at, we need something else. And for some whatever reason, Europe was calling me. I grew up as a dual citizen. My mom's from England. I was on a British passport, American passport, and I'd only done domestic trips. I think the first reason was because I didn't know it was feasible. I didn't know how easy it would be to go. So there was that kind of ignorance of travel that I only did the easy ones, the short baseball trips, because that was just the world that I knew.
Simple.
And when you're first planning a bigger trip, whether it be some duration and everything, it's more expensive, and that's a daunting thing. The first time you're clicking purchase on an international trip, it can be very nerve-wracking. You start thinking about all the other prices that you have in your life, whether you should be buying this trip and whatnot. So I just didn't know it existed. I didn't know how feasible it was. I didn't know how much I would enjoy it. I didn't know if it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
That's probably the main thing, is I just didn't know, is this going to be worth it to do? And with that, I think despite my experience over the time of the smaller trips by myself, there was still a little bit of skepticism on whether it would be a successful journey by myself. Because it's one thing to go to a local baseball game by yourself. It's a whole other thing to go to a different country where you might need someone to assist you in times.
Yeah, definitely. Now, could I ask you, what was it that enabled you to feel comfort after you started doing this, even at the baseball level?
It was the mistakes that I've made. And I know that sounds weird as what made me comfortable, but we all know that to grow, you need to get outside your comfort zone. And when you're traveling in another country, you're literally and metaphorically doing this. And it was the mistakes that I made that enabled me to realize the value in it, number one, but also that sense of pride that I had. For instance, I was extremely lost in the labyrinth that is Venice, Italy. And for anyone who's been to Venice, Italy, the buildings are all the same size. It's a small place, but there's no roads, there's no cars, and there's just these meandering paths that go kind of in between the buildings. There's not like a straight thoroughfare or a straight highway from one end to the other. They're all winding, and getting through at night, it was extremely difficult. I was almost to the point of tears. At one point I screamed out, "I need help! I'm so lost!" It took me over an hour to travel. It was only probably my trip from one location to St. Mark's Square back to the hotel. It was probably only 0.8 of a mile, but it took me over an hour because there's limited road signs and there's limited lighting. And if you think you know where you're going, then all of a sudden there's water and you can't cross this bridge, but there's a bridge over there, and it's like being in a funhouse mirror maze. And so I did that, and I was so frustrated.
Yeah.
When you're traveling by yourself, especially internationally, there's no one to call. You can't call mom and dad. You can't call your friend. A lot of times the internet, the Wi-Fi on your phone is spotty, and what are you going to do? What are you going to do in that situation? And it's literal sink or swim, and basically you have to grow up right before your eyes, and you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I just walked into the next restaurant I found, and I said, "Hey, he didn't speak in English. I spoke zero Italian, but I pulled out a map, pointed where I was going, and he laughed and he pointed where I was at, which was a complete 180 of where I thought I was." But then while I sat down, had a great Italian meal, had a glass, 2, 3, Pinot Grigio, I realized that if I could do this, if I can get through another country and make it through a place where I don't know the language, where I'm lost, where I'm frustrated, if I can do that, I can handle anything back at my career.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I can do anything. And it was that sense of satisfaction of, Randall, you can do anything.
Yeah.
You can navigate a foreign country on your own with no help. You can do anything. And it was that sense of pride and that sense of excitement that now I look forward to being confused and being lost in a literal sense and also a realistic sense of just, I look forward to things that challenge me and make me grow, because they're invaluable lessons that we don't experience in our daily lives. And
Yes.
it's the chance to fail and the opportunity to fail, and then to see how you react is something that is so beneficial to anyone, and especially through travel.
Wow. Well, I know myself, I'm not as much one to strike off on my own, but quite often when I am with a group or something, I will venture, off a little on my own and just talk to people and get a sense of the place that I'm at by hearing the words of someone else that works or lives there or something, and really ties it all in. It gives me a form of comfort, unity. It's really an awesome feel for myself.
Yeah, and one of the aspects of the book I write about is when you're traveling by yourself, you have the ability to do what you want at all times. And that's the number one thing that people love about traveling by solo. And more people are traveling solo now than ever before. But the one great thing about it is you can choose just how social you want to be. Mm-hmm. If you want to take your next trip and just say, you know what, I need some me time, I want to get away from everybody, you can do that. And you can isolate yourself and use time to think or to meditate, whatever it may be. However, you can also be extremely very social during your trips. I've progressed and have become more social over the trips, and there's a lot of different ways to meet, whether it be just travelers in general, other travelers, but also other solo travelers. Obviously, with social media, you can connect to people easier than ever before, and traveling by solo allows you to do all the things that you want to do, but also you can find ways to interact with a lot of other people, and I've made it a point to, on each trip, I'll say, this trip, Randall, your goal is to meet 5 people every day. get 5 different email addresses every day, or meet someone at the restaurant, meet someone at the airport bar. But at times, if I'm just frustrated or if I'm tired or I'm just want to catch up on a show, I can also isolate myself as well. And I think that's one of the beauties of it, is we can just take time to just say, you know what, I need time for me. But also, if I choose to be social, it's great to meet friends. And when you can make a friend or meet an acquaintance in another country, especially with a language barrier, it's something that, again, it's an amazing experience.
Well, I think the interesting part of that is that quite often you might have a desire to maybe go see a show or go do something specific, and the group that you're with or person may not have the same feeling. And so therefore you may compromise or change your mind completely or do something else, and you don't actually get the desire that you had intended accomplished. Or maybe it was in some sense, but it's kind of nice to be able to just say, hey, I think I'll go out for a specific taste in food and just do it.
Yeah, and there's so many different layers to that. For one, it's one of the primary reasons to do anything. I think, especially as you get older, you realize you don't want to compromise as much. Maybe when you're younger, you'd be like, yeah, I'll watch that movie with you. But after you've gone to X amount of movies that you didn't want to go to, and you realize you want to do your own thing, or you realize that your interests are the most important interests of anybody's, then you start realizing that you just want to do what you want to do. And there's no shame and there's no offense if you're with someone else to say, listen, I want to go to this museum or this restaurant. You do your thing. I'll meet up with you. That's what's great. But the other part about it that I talk about in the book is that this is why solo travel is beneficial to everyone. One of the common things that I get asked or get told is people who are married or in a relationship or with kids or whatever it may be, they say, I can't go and travel to Europe by myself, or I can't go and take a long trip by myself. But there's value in everyone taking time to do what they want to do. So if you can't travel to Europe by yourself, take the day, go to the local place to go hiking. Take a day trip somewhere close. Take a day trip to a city you've ever wanted to go to. Every place, we all know there's places we've always wanted to go to in our own hometowns we've never done. Take a day to do that by yourself. If you're in a relationship, that independent time shows that you don't have to rely on each other for happiness, entertainment. Then it's going to, in the end, it's going to strengthen and it's going to create some synergy with your relationship's going to go from 1 + 1 = 2 to 1 + 1 = 3, because you're both going to have independence and be proud to take time by yourself. And you're not going to, those times, there's always a little bit of conflict. I don't watch this, I want to do this. If you take time to yourself, you're going to be happy and you're going to appreciate your time when you get back. If you have kids, everybody needs a break from their kids every once in a while, but you're also teaching your children to be independent, and they're going to see the value in doing things as well. So it's one of the reasons I tell solo travel is beneficial for everybody, and everyone should try it, because of the fact that you can finally do what you want to do, and you don't have to worry about it. And that freedom and that sense of just, even if it's just watching movies all day, going to the local place here, where I'm from in Arizona, Sedona is a small hiking town, and a lot of people there. Go there for 2 hours, go hiking, and then go to your favorite restaurant on the way home, and do that. And it's being able to do that and still coming back to your relationship to your family is the main reason I recommend solo travel to anyone, not just solo travelers.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be a going to Europe thing, just to get away and have some serenity of being by yourself and collecting your thoughts, so that when you are together, you're probably more aware and comfortable about that time.
Yeah, and the other reason I recommend the short trips to start is because, like I mentioned earlier about the international trips being a daunting thing and being an expensive thing, if you start small, first of all, you're going to start understanding and realizing the importance of these trips in your life. You're going to be so recharged from the time away. In the book, I mentioned the importance of taking time to meditate while you're on the trips, and just meditation exercise, but also taking time to just think. When you're out hiking by yourself, you start thinking about what goals in your life, ambitions, but you also start thinking about solutions to problems. You start prioritizing. You start just helping, kind of refocus and readjust your life to what you need. And so, yeah, I say start small for anybody is important. Starting small for anyone's important, just because it will ease you into the world of travel, but it's also just more affordable because travel can be expensive. And I would tell everyone to start small, especially because with all that nervousness that comes with it, by taking those small day trips first, or just going to a sporting event first. If you're not quite ready to go somewhere, go to a sporting event by yourself. Go to the movie by yourself. And you'll start strengthening your desire to be a soloist, as I call it, and you're going to appreciate and love it, and it's going to be something that's going to be part of who you are.
Well, that sounds awesome in the sense that you're strengthening your character and making you a better human being. And to some degree, I was going to ask you, you had mentioned that this helped you even in the spiritual aspect, but I would make the assumption from what you said that how it actually affected you spiritually too. Do you think you can go any further into that part of it?
Yeah, it's because every trip I want to take something from every trip and bring it back into my daily life.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, spiritually, the big part was taking uncomfortable situations and turning them into opportunities. When you're traveling, what's one thing you're going to have? You're going to have lots of time traveling. You're going to be stuck in lines. You're going to be waiting. So we often look at those situations and we say, "Oh man, I got to wait in line." Even if it's something at the supermarket, we say, "Well, I got to wait in line." We're always so frustrated. We got to wait in line. We got to wait. You got to be stuck on a train, or you got to wait for the plane to board. Oh my gosh, why are they boarding? They're only on group 1. I'm in group 7. I mean, there's all these times we get frustrated for just waiting. What I've done is I've seen all those as opportunities. Now when I arrive there, and if my plane's not boarding yet, I use that time to meditate, to focus on my breathing, and in doing so, I've flipped my mindset from seeing these typically or traditionally negative experiences. I've used them as now opportunities. So when I come to a line, I think, great, this is an opportunity for me to just do some standing meditation, some breathing meditation, then to relax myself. And in doing so, through my travels, I now do these in my everyday life. So whether I'm at the local grocery store or wherever it may be, if there's a line or if there's any time of waiting, if I'm even at a traffic light and it's 30 seconds to a minute, I still meditate and I just focus on my breathing and I focus on tranquility and peace, breathing love into my heart, breathing peace to my mind, and then anything else that I need in my life that day. If it's writing, I'm breathing creativity to my writing. I'm breathing creativity to my mind. And anyone who knows and understands meditation knows that the more often you do it, it's going to help you in so many different ways. And I just see that travel has helped me be calm and open to frustrations. If you can stay calm while you're going from one terminal to another in JFK Airport, you can stay calm through anything. And I've been able to take that, and I think it's a spirituality thing for me, is I've been able to take that mindset into just everyday life. And I'm at the calmest but most peace in my life, but also at the same time I'm at my happiest that I've ever been. And
wow,
I really attribute to that, just to the moments of solitude that help you think and help you relax, and using meditation and also at the same time just having active and deep thoughts. I cherish those moments.
Well, it's really awesome that you're able to find a very positive outlook to a circumstance that tends to frustrate and bother most people. If you can actually retune it to give you a change in attitude, which is exactly what you did, you've bettered your life, and that makes you a all-around better human being. So that is a really nice facet of what you have managed to do in this traveling thing. So another question would be family, and your family and friends. What do they say, and what's their reactions to some of this?
Well, the funny thing is, when I first did it, I didn't tell anybody. And I'm not one for overly saying, "Hey, I'm going to go to Greece in 6 months." No, I like to kind of surprise, but initially I didn't tell anyone I was going by myself because I was shy and embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, when I started taking pride in it and not realizing it doesn't matter what anybody thinks, there are probably people out there, family members included, who probably think I'm insane for some of the trips that I take and everything. But it doesn't really matter. It's how I feel.
Yeah.
So, but but with that though, they have started to appreciate it. And I in fact, recently I was telling my mom, I said, Christmas presents, I don't need any Christmas presents. If you feel obligated that you want to get me something, you can just pay for my next visa. So that's the next visa application. You can just pay for that. So family members have kind of have understood that I'm a little out there with it, and they appreciate it. But it's I still like surprising them with any and all the trips, friends as well. But at the same time, now there's not a day goes by that I'm not getting a text from someone asking me advice about another location. So I've turned into kind of the guru of travel amongst my friends.
Well, there you go. Maybe that's the next book, huh?
Yeah, we're already working on it.
Well, of all the places that you've managed to see so far, what do you feel has been one of your best experiences? And is there a particular one that you're looking forward to going to?
Wow, and I'm pausing to think about that, because I know even though it is always the most common question I get, if I was telling someone else the best place I would recommend someone going to Italy or to Iceland, because I think for travelers. But for me, it's kind of the subtle moments. I had a 2-hour conversation, maybe 3-hour conversation with a man from China who was by himself. But we were in Edinburgh, Scotland, And I came in and I stayed at the hospital. And my goal, I told myself, you got to go to bed early. I know you're tired, so just eat and go to bed. And I get there, and my hospital flatmate said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm going to go get something to eat." He goes, "Oh, I'll come down and join you." And it ended up being 3 hours later. My whole idea of going to bed early ended up, 3 hours later after several drinks and just talking politics to, he was a master's student at the University of Manchester, and we were just both in, randomly our worlds connected in Scotland, and that was just fantastic. Those are the nights that I live for and aim for, connecting with someone who I would never have had a chance to connect for, talking politics, talking sports, talking all these different things, and true opposite perspectives of the world, but at the same time, here we are joined together, and it was, those experiences are great. But as far as a location, I'm a Francophile. I could never be in France more. That's my number one spot. Being able to see Notre Dame before it burned, that was my favorite building in the entire world. And it's just you go in there and it's breathtaking. It's remarkable, and it's a 1,000-year-old building. And France is easily my favorite spot. I try to go there as often as possible. But I try not to rank too many places as far as favorite and all that, because every location has something great. Yes. And every location, a long time ago, a famous mountaineer was hiking Mount Everest, and they asked him, "Why are you hiking Mount Everest?" And he said, "Because it's there." And that's my approach to everything. I made a stop in one of the smaller countries, Liechtenstein, and I tell people, "Hey, I'm going to Liechtenstein," and they say, "Why?" And, well, because it's there. And for me, if a place exists, I want to go. I want to see it. I want to have a drink with someone there, and I want to learn something new. And every place I go is a new opportunity to learn something. Every person I meet is an expert at something that I don't know about, and so all those opportunities are great. There are places obviously that stand out, but I try to see the value in everything.
Wow. It sounds like you're having an awesome time at this, and you can fully see the thrill in the whole bit for you. I am eager to want to go out and do something right now, and I'll also throw it out to you. We live in Florence, Oregon, on the coast, which is one of the most beautiful places there is, and you're always welcome to come visit us up here.
Well, I love everything about Oregon. And that's how I found out about you guys, and I will definitely make it a point to stop there. I love Eugene. I love Portland. I had a wonderful time at the Blazers game, and one of my favorite states, and I love everything about the state, and I'm going to take you up on that and make it a point to come by.
Absolutely. Check out our small little studio, but pumping out big things.
Of course. We'll work together. We'll help each other out on that.
That sounds great. Hey, before you go, not to throw anything bad on this, but was there ever a time that you had gone out and just it wasn't the experience you wanted for, and maybe you could give us some advice on things that you should shy away from or just keep in mind?
Well, things always go wrong. And you travel long enough, the roulette wheel of bad things happening is going to happen to you as a traveler. I've been on flights that have been canceled. I've been on flights that have been delayed. I've sat middle seat between two crying babies. I've been in the wrong terminal. I've missed trains. So not locations that have been bad, but just things that have continued to happen. Yeah. Iceland, on my way to see the beautiful black sand beach in Iceland called Vik Beach. We're on the way, and there's a storm. You got to turn around. That very same trip, I was in the wrong terminal, missed my flight from Stockholm to Reykjavik, and those things happen. Yeah. And I think, have a tendency. You might see people. People are so quick to put airlines on blast on social media because everybody has the viewpoint that this is my trip, and it's the most important. I'm the most important traveler there is. When you realize on your plane of 200, every single person on there has something important that they're doing. That's why they're flying. Yep. And it's not about you. And yes, there might be some setbacks that might have made your wedding or your honeymoon or your job interview. There might have been things that hiccups along the way. It's not about you. And everyone there is important. And things are going to happen. You travel long enough, your luggage is going to get missing. And it's going to mess your life up. But it's how you react to it and what happens after that. It's how you accept that. And once you do it a long enough time, you start realizing that those things aren't the end of the world, number one, and you start getting better to handle them. One of the most frustrating times was being at JFK, and everybody's bottlenecking onto the plane and getting somewhat aggressive, pushing, shoving, this and that. It's like, hey guys, there's only one flight. There's only one plane. We're all going to the same place. Like, this is not, you pushing in front is not going to save, but 5 seconds to sit down, you're probably going to have to wait for someone else anyway. So kind of relaxing and removing yourself that, yes, you are an important person, but you're one of many. And you're not the only one going to someplace important. It's going to happen. Just because your bag got lost doesn't mean that airline is garbage and they did it on purpose. These things happen, and they will forever continue to happen. It's just how you react to it. And if you react to it in a negative way and in a negative mindset, back to kind of the spiritual aspects of it, then your trip's going to be miserable. And you're going to come back home and you're going to be miserable. But if you learn to take and handle those hiccups, those hurdles, those roadblocks along the way, when you come back to your daily life, you're going to be fine if someone cuts you off in traffic because you've seen the bigger picture. So I think negative things, yeah, they've happened and they will continue to happen. And I don't think I've ever been on a trip that went 100% to plan. So, the future laughs when you tell it's your plan. So
yes,
things
very
bad
so.
happen. It's just how you react to it.
Yep. Well, Randell, I think that is pretty great advice, and it's coming to the very end of our show here. I can't thank you enough for calling in and sharing your book with us. Can you give us that book name again?
Yes, it's called Smart and Solo: The Blueprint for Efficient, Enjoyable Solo Travel. Right now, it's exclusively on Amazon. Real quick find on there, and I encourage everyone to get it and send me some feedback. And love to hear from everyone who's doing solo travel as well. The very back section of the book is Tales from the Road, where it's just interviews that I've had with other travelers around the world, where they kind of put some of their advice or their hacks or their things that went wrong as well. So it's the travel community is a wonderful one. You meet someone else and you instantly just start sharing tips and tricks. So I love to hear from everyone who reads it as well.
Awesome. Well, again, we are speaking with Randell Carlton Green. He is a book author of Traveling Alone and On Your Own, which seemed to be something that's worked out really well for him because he seems to have a very good, positive spirit and a great outlook on life. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. And it was you had me kind of thinking some thoughts at the end when you said, it looks like he's happy doing it, and I knew that I am, but at the same time, until hearing someone else say that, it's kind of opened my mind up a little bit. It's like, I really do enjoy this, and it's why I wrote the book. And I could talk about. I think I realized that it was time to write the book when you could talk to me about anything, and I would have the regular tone of voice. But when I started talking about traveling, I got faster, higher pitched, and more excited. And I realized that this does mean a lot to me, and I'm happy with it. So it was interesting to hear you point that out, because it kind of made me realize that affirmation on that.
Awesome.
This has been KXCR Conversations with you, a regular feature here at KXCR. Having a conversation is easy. Call 997-5252. Email info@kxcr.net. Or visit us at the station across from the library. Our combined history makes our community. We all have the energy and power to do good things. Organizing and energizing ourselves is a great step in conversation. This is Community Radio, KXCR, Florence 90.7.